what you just heard was the track that was composed with just the 88RLB. It was used as the main tracking preamp on everything that I had here in my studio to physically track. Anything that was a virtual instrument was ran through the 88RLB to give it that 88RLB warmth, that depth, that sound quality. Everything any way possible was touching these 88RLBs in some way during that demo take. Throughout the rest of the video, I will show you standalone instances where you can hear the differences between the different features with the high pass filter and the regeneration feature and stuff like that. So I will show you all of that as I go on, but I just wanted to give a little bit of information on the 88RLB before we got started. So like everything by Neve, it's handcrafted, beautifully built in the United Kingdom. Neve has a reputation for being a very luxury high-end product because it is. Their price points can be a little bit more on the expensive side, but there is a reason for it because everything by Neve is super nice. You get a product from Neve, it is a luxury product, it's something you're proud to own, it sounds great, it just works. There's really not much more to it. It's like if you want the best of the best, you get the best of the best, and that is definitely Neve. Now, sure, there are other companies who are comparable and have great sounds for a fraction of the price, but for the elitist or the purist, or for someone who just wants something that they can just simply plug and play and have it just sound great right off the bat, who doesn't want to worry about a manufacturing issue or having to ship something back or issues with that, companies that are, maybe have been, brought up in the past to have, quality assurance issues, then, Neve is the way to go. And, I purchased my 88RLB after hearing a lot of the records that were made on the 88RS. Now, the 88RLB is, of course, the preamp section from the 88RS console. The 88RS console is a full-fledged Neve console. There's currently one located in Abbey Road. Very expensive for something like that to have a full-fledged Neve console. Probably close to $1 million for the one that's in Abbey Road right now, but for a fraction of the price, you can get just the preamp section for the 500 series format. So the 88RLB is a 500 series preamp module. It is a single channel. You will need a 500 series rack in order to use the 88RLB. So that is something that you would have to purchase if you did not own one. They do also make, it is $3,300 US. They do also make a single 19-inch rack for the 88RLB, but is a channel strip. It does also include the EQ and compression section of the full console. So you are getting a little bit more of a console with the 19-inch rack, but you're also paying $3,300. So if you needed, 8 of them or 10 of them, you're looking at a, down payment on a house, or buying a brand new 2022 car off the showcase floor kind of thing. So it can get expensive if you're looking to do that. That's why I went with the sort of lesser option and just kind of opted in with the pair of the preamps and preamps only. I'm sure the EQs and compressors are really nice, and eventually down the road I might snag a pair, but that's a kind of wing and a prayer for the future. I'm in love with these preamps. I'm going to say it now. You're going to hear me say it several times throughout this video. These are probably my favorite preamps. They are definitely one of my favorite pieces of gear. There is a lush 3D sound that they produce. It's a very rich, defined characteristic. They're not 1073s. They're not color boxes. They do not give you that saturation pump. They get you really colored with a 3D warm rounded sound that's full of depth and just width and clarity. It's a very fat sounding preamp, but it's not to the point where it's just saturated and colorful, and it's not a 1073. It has its sources that it works amazing on. I absolutely love this thing on female vocals. I love it on acoustic guitars. I love it on piano. It sounds great on a lot of other things too. It sounds, amazing on guitars and basses and drums and, male vocals and whatever you want to throw it through. It could definitely hold its own in, you know, comparison to other companies in the same price point and even more expensive price points. I have API preamps here, Chandler preamps, Shadow Hill preamps, Burl preamps, and it holds their own. It holds its own against all of those companies, and I often find myself reaching for it over another thing. I have my favorites that I like on certain sources, but there is no doubt about it in my mind that this preamp is just an absolute, just top-notch favorite for worlds to come, for me at least, and I will consistently reach for it. And like I said, eventually down the road, like if money were to permit and I could just kind of splurge a little bit, I would probably snag a pair of the channel strips to have, you know, if I got them, if the price was right, if things aligned perfectly, I would definitely snag them, because it really is just an amazing sounding preamp. Lots of people requested I do a demo on the 88RLB, as there weren't a lot of videos on YouTube. There still really aren't. I've gotten tons of emails, tons of comments, tons of messages on different social media sites asking me if I could take the time to do a review, and I've been super busy with other projects and other things as well, so I haven't had a chance to really sit down and crank it out. But for all of those who've been waiting for this, here it is. I hope you enjoy. I hope this is helpful for you, and I hope you can see how great of a preamp this is. And for anyone else who's just stumbling upon this video, thanks for checking it out. I hope you enjoy it too. This is definitely a secret sauce for me, and I kind of feel bad like almost reviewing it and telling everybody about it, because it's like I almost want to gatekeep it in a way, just because it is so beautiful. It is an amazing sounding preamp, and I love it. Without further ado, let's jump in and check out the front panel and see what features this thing packs. Jumping into the front panel of the 88RLB, there's a lot going on here, but it's all really well tracked and sorted. They did a great job with the development and production of this unit. Everything feels really great. One thing to kind of point out, I've already said the build quality is amazing, but the build quality is amazing. These knobs feel really good. I want to just say I have a thing with knobs. I think a lot of us do. If something feels cheap and shitty, I'm basically just going to kind of disregard it. Essentially, in a nutshell, I'm going to look down on it and just look away and just be like, no, I don't want this. It was one of my issues with the solid state logic EQs in comp that I reviewed on my channel. They felt really chintzy and cheap. The knobs felt very almost like plastic and childish, very toy-like. It didn't feel like a $900 piece of gear. It sounded like one, and obviously at the end of the day, sound is the biggest thing, but you know, build quality has a lot to do with it for me, and specifically knob feel. These knobs feel great. They do, as you can see, they do have a little bit of wiggle room, so it's not like super tight, but that has to do with the fact that there is the built-in encoder in here. You know, but it doesn't feel like a chintzy knob. Like when I turn this knob, it feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. It doesn't feel like it's going to pop off or anything. But yeah, so looking at the top of the unit, we have a signal switch. This is the signal switch, as you can see on the second unit, which I'm talking you through now. You know, it is lit because there is signal coming through. I am talking. This first one I'm just using for the demonstration purposes, so nothing is coming through right now. That would be lit up if there is signal. Then we have the encoder, selector, the channel selector, and the gain level. So it's basically really solid here. Again, more gain to the right, less gain to the left, like any other gain knob. And then to select a different channel, you just pop it in. Pretty straightforward. The three LEDs below light up to let you know which channel you are selected. Mic, you know, anything that you're running through the microphone. Right now I'm talking to you through the SM7B, so the mic switch is engaged on channel 2. This is if you were miking up a guitar cab or miking up a drum set or a vocalist of whatever it is you're going to do. That is for what you would choose with the mic selection. Line would be like line level if you wanted to run like a piece of outboard gear through it to give it some of that transformer saturation. You could certainly do that. If you were going to run a mix through it, or like when I'm doing, you know, running my mixes through this, because as you see, it's in my mastering rack here. When I do a mix and I print it to get some weight and saturation, I will run a mix through the pair of these, and it sounds really great. That saturation, it's great, kind of giving it some extra oomph and warmth to your things that sound digital and lifeless, it definitely brings it alive. So the fact that they let you have like an option to kind of choose that, it's pretty awesome. And then lastly is the DI switch, which, you know, direct input, that's, you know, your guitars, your bass, some keyboards. Next up is the Reg Switch. This is probably one of the coolest features that they added with this unit. The Reg Switch, which stands for regenerate, basically what it does is it's a mode that you could click on and off. And it's got a little blue LED to let you know that it is engaged. This works on both the line and DI channels only. It does not work on the mic channel. The reason why is because the feature in what it is it's letting you run that mic input transformer that you would have, you know, hitting the signal with your microphone. You can apply that input transformer into a line or DI. So by clicking this switch on, you're injecting in that transformer fatness, that sick, thick, fat, just colorful saturation. You're injecting that into the DI signal or line signal, depending on which one you choose. And you could, you know, keep the Reg Switch on, and it will just basically allow you to switch only between line and DI. When you take the Reg Switch off, you could go back to mic. It's a super awesome feature. It sounds great. I will show some examples of what that can do just between, you know, a bass DI and running it through again with the regeneration. It really does add a layer of color, thickness, and saturation every time. Below that is the high pass filter, which I will demonstrate here in a second. The high pass filter is very, very, very cool. It works in a very interesting way. Now, it's my favorite high pass filter on a preamp. I have a lot of preamps that do have built-in high pass filters. There's just something about the Neve high pass filter. It's great when it's subtle. It's great when it's not. It just works really well. Most of the time, as kind of like my 2 cents on this feature, is that with this specific high pass filter, you can get to where you want to be like 9 times out of 10 with no issue. This is a really amazing tone shaping tool. If you have a kick drum that's a little bit too muddy or muffled, you could high pass filter it out and get rid of a lot of that disgusting rumble and, you know, grossness that's in that track. Works really great for 8 strings and 7 strings on the DI channel. Really, really awesome for 8 strings. Anything more than that, and you pretty much you'd want something like this built in. So it's a great feature to have. You know, works really good with bass, or, you know, even some toms that you're miking up that have a little bit of rumble. And you know, really good for things like voiceover and like podcasting as well too. And I'll show you right now. So it's actually engaged for me right now to take out some of the rumble, and it's set, as you see here, to about 30 hertz. And it's very subtle. You're probably not going to be able to hear a difference, but I'm going to disengage it now. And I'm going to keep talking to you. And again, there's probably not too much that you're hearing going missing, but let's just pump this up to about 100, and I'll re-engage it now as I'm talking to you. So you could probably hear the difference as I just re-engaged it, that it's definitely doing a little bit more now, as 100 hertz is a more common frequency in the voice. Now I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to take it out again, and I'm going to bump it up just to about the 160-ish range. And now you're really going to notice how prominent it is when I click it on, and it's really going to change, and I can hear it a little bit in my headphones, how crazy precise that is, how much of a noticeable difference. And if I bring it all the way to like 250-ish, you know, you could hear the change-ish now, but when I take it out, you could really hear the difference. And when I bring it back in, you can really hear the difference on my voice of how much of the low end frequency. And if I talk, you know, sort of directly into the microphone here, if I talk directly into it and I drive it all the way up and then I disengage it, re-engage it, disengage it, you know, you can hear my voice, re-engage it, you know, it's got a lot of, it's really wild. I mean, like, you know, it changes my voice. It doesn't even sound that great right now, but, you know, obviously, you know, get rid of it, brings it back. I like it pretty much around the 60-ish to 100 hertz on voice. You know, depending on where you're going to take it. And again, even lower to be more subtle, but really sculpt the vocal. I really do like it there. And as you could see too with the, and this is just has to go into the sensitivity as I was mentioning, it really is sensitive. Like if you, you just want one straight click off. If you kind of sort of hover it, like, you know, it will switch on and off. That's just because the encoder is very sensitive. It's a very nice sensitivity that I rather like. I will spend probably a little bit more time going into the high pass filter on DI tracks, maybe a little bit later on in this demo, just to kind of show you the different tones you can get, but it's a really great tone shaping tool and I love it. Below that, we have 48 volts phantom power, standard. We have a 20 dB pad, standard, sometimes, most of the times. Usually, sometimes it could be 10 dB, but 20 dB is great. Really great for snare, really great for loud pumping guitar cabs that are just blaring. I think it works really great. I've only used it a few times really, but it definitely has come in handy. Below that, we have the phase reversal switch. Again, another standard feature that pretty much every preamp should have. And right below that is the FRIP, which stands for front input. This is a switch to just engage this front XLR combo jack. If you do not have this switch engaged, the front panel will not be active. Only the back panel will be, which is whatever's routed into the 500 series. So take that how you want. If you have this disengaged, say, you know, you're running line level, like, you know, I have my ins and outs set to the back. So if I want to run a mix, I would just have line level. Now it's the back, and what's in the back of my 500 series, it is now running. But like, let's just say I have a single cable here and I plug it into the front cable, I would engage that front input panel so that it bypasses the back and goes to the front. I believe this is just for the inputs. It's not for the outputs. The output will always be in the back. So, and there is a ground lift switch, which is just awesome to have. It's a great feature. Everything should have a ground lift. I always keep it on. I never really shut it off. I sometimes get hum in here because I have weird electrical problems in my house that can cause problems with stuff. Everything is surge protected and everything is power conditioned in my studio, but sometimes ground hums just happen. They don't anymore with the ground lift switch, so that's a really good feature to have. More stuff should really start including it as a kind of standard feature, but hey, it's really great. This whole entire preamp is super feature rich. I love this thing. This thing is probably one of my favorite pieces of gear, if not my favorite piece of gear. You know, it's got a lot to offer, and that is the front panel of the 88RLB. It's a very feature-rich preamp that just sounds awesome. I am now going to switch over and do some tracks so you can hear what this thing could really do. But it is a beautiful preamp. Really, it's my favorite preamp. So right now I'm talking to you through the SM7B with the RLB 88. It's a very full, colorful 3D sound in the sense of colorful, it being 3D and full, very wide, very characteristic. It's still relatively clean compared to what else Neve offers. It's certainly not a 1073, but it's got a lot of width and dynamic to it. It bounces your words around when you pronunciate and say things, and it picks them up really well. It's a very articulated preamp, but it's full. It's 3D sounding. It has a very, like worldly, circular kind of ambience to it. It's hard to explain, but you'll hear it when you use it. Now I'm going to switch over to the stock preamps on my audio interface, which is the Motu 828ES, and I'm going to show you the difference that this thing makes. So I'm going to switch it over now. So now I am talking to you on the Motu 828ES, and it's not as full sounding. There is still definitely a good clean sound coming from the stock preamp of the 828ES, but it's not that wide open full 3D dynamic articulated sound that just works really well. These are really great stock preamps. These are one of the better ones that I've used, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with how it's being converted as well too. The converters in this interface are really nice, but it's no 88RLB. It's lacking the depth and the width that I feel that preamp can bring. And again, I'll switch it over one more time so you can hear the difference. And now we are back on the 88 RLB. Again, I'm just like looking and hearing, and it just sounds absolutely amazing. It's so much more full, so much more wide, more characteristic and flavor. It just offers so much more than, your run-of-the-mill preamp and then some. This thing is a lot of bang for your buck. And it's at a price point that sits really nice because it's not, the most expensive, but it's also not the most cheap. But it just, for what you're getting for the price, it's just this beautiful, lush sounding preamp that just works on literally everything you throw at it. And one more time for the record, I'm going to switch it back over just so you can hear the stock Motu pre one more time as I switch over. And now I'm back on the Motu pre, and it's just, that I can hear the lack in depth and clarity as soon as I put it right back on. Standalone, like I said, it's a great pre. It sounds amazing, but when you switch it over to something such as nice as the 88RLB or like a API 512C, you really start to realize how lacking a stock preamp really is. And this thing just sounds absolutely great, but it's no Neve, it's no API, it's no anything else. But in comparison to the Neve, because that's what this video is about, the one thing it's really lacking is that warmth, depth, clarity, and perception. And the Neve just nails all of those, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, 100% all the way, every way through. And enough about the comparison back and forth. I don't want to spend too long here, so I'm just going to switch it back over and continue to review this on the 88RLB. If you found this video at all helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let the YouTube algorithm do its thing and get to work. And as always, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or want to talk about the 88RLB or other preamps or 500 series stuff in general, drop a comment in the comment section below and I will try to get back to you. I usually respond within 24 to 48 hours depending on the busyness of my work schedule, but I will always reply. And as always, thanks again for watching.